Greetings, YouTube. When the COVID first hit, 11,000 prisoners were released from federal prison in the hopes of having them at home, which would disperse them and prevent them from getting COVID and potentially dying, which made perfect sense. Keeping people in a large place together in intimate contact is the worst possible thing you can do in a pandemic. The best thing you could do is spread people out, have them stay at home, and isolate. If you can break that transmission chain, the disease will begin to burn itself out because it's just got nowhere to go. And Americans are remarkably bad at that, which is why we've had so many deaths in America. But of those 11,000 prisoners that were released, 17 of them have reoffended. 17 out of 11,000. That's 0.15%. 0.15%. So how many of those people never needed to be in prison? Okay, so there are things that we could do to reduce our prison populations, even though I'm aware that the prison industrial complex is a vital part of capitalism in America at this point. It is legalized and constitutionally defended slavery. But we could do things like, for example, decriminalize all drugs, make weed legal, tax it, dispensaries, make sure percentages of them go to the people that have been adversely affected by the anti-drug laws out there. Make sure minority groups are represented in the owners. Don't let them just be owned by white people or big corporations. I would, in fact, prevent corporations from being involved in dispensaries completely. Sort of like the way we should prevent corporations being involved in housing. Yeah, it's going to be another video on that one. And then we could just decriminalize all the rest. So all drugs are no longer a crime to have or to sell. If you want to find people on a civil level, cool, but you just don't send them to jail anymore because that doesn't help. Go look at how Portugal handles things like that. We could make that model work here, I'm sure. We could also stop putting people in prison for property crime that was non-destructive, as in it didn't put anyone at risk. So if somebody's stealing something or they're vandalizing or they're stealing, they've damaged somebody's property, but it was a non-violent way, so that means like the property was damaged but no one's life was in risk because of that damage, don't send them to prison at all. You just fine them, give them community service, and you let them work it off. You make sure that they, make restitution to the people whose property they have either stolen or damaged, and then you make sure that they make restitutions to our communities by doing community work. And then when they're done, they go home. They just never were in prison, because you don't need to do that. There's absolutely no reason that non-violent property crime results in a person going to jail. It makes no sense whatsoever. There are people in prison right now who have been there for decades for stealing things that were less than $1,000 worth. And yet we have people who have crippled our entire economy because they have stolen or ripped off millions and billions of dollars who will never see a day in jail. In the United States of America, more than $100 million a day are stolen from workers through wage theft. And no one's ever going to go to jail for that. But some dude rips off $400 item somewhere, or $500 item, and suddenly finds themselves in prison. How does that help us? Send violent criminals to prison. That's useful. Send the people here who attack people for no reason. Say, for example, cops that attack people for no reason, or because the person dared to talk back to them, or dared to not comply the way they should comply, or walked down the street, or sold cigarettes, or jogged, or, the point is there's lots of ways that if you're a minority person in America, you will end up dead at the hands of either the cops or the white people. Those folks should be going to prison for a very long time, preferably forever. If a cop murders somebody, because that person is black or brown, they should go away forever. We don't need them. Society doesn't need them. The problem, of course, is that the white nationalists are in every single form of structure that we have in America. Every institution in America was designed by white nationalists, is currently staffed by white nationalists, and they are doing everything in their power to make sure that the power that they have will not be lost. Even though there are progressives fighting against them, even though there are people protesting in the streets, they're not letting their claws out of that power unless we pry them out one at a time. And I don't have a problem with doing that. Those people need to go to prison. People stealing food to live, people stealing booze because they want to get high, people ripping off a car for a joyride, people spray painting fences. Those people don't need to go to prison, but they do all the damn time. And of course, the laws are not evenly enforced. If I look like this, I can get away a hell of a lot of ways, a hell of a lot of things that a black person can't. It's just the truth. I will be forgiven for crimes that I commit that a black person will go to prison for. Hell, I won't even be questioned. No one's going to bat an eye if I walk past an entire group of armed police that has just finished raiding a building to arrest somebody. Now, why am I giving you this rather odd specific example? Because I did it. I'm walking to the laundromat one day, backpack full of laundry, just standard army duffel bag on my back. And I turn the corner where I normally turn. And it doesn't occur to me that why are all these people across the street looking at the building I'm walking past? And why are all the people that are across the street not white? When all the people standing on the sidewalk that I'm walking down are white. And they're cops. And they're in body armor. And they've got semi-automatic firearms strapped to their hips and their chests, like full-on military-grade long weapons strapped to their chests, the classic AR-15 style things. And they're just standing there, and they're watching me walk by, and I am absolutely and utterly clueless. That I didn't think of, before I can think about it. Why? White person. What do I have to worry about? I didn't articulate it that way. I didn't frame it that way in my mind. It's how I've been raised. It's how I've been made to think. You know what did those cops do? Not a goddamn thing. They let me walk right past them. Not a single word. Now, what happened if a black person had walked past with a big-ass duffel bag on their back? They could have held anything. I mean, it was a full duffel bag. I could have had a dozen AR-15s inside that thing if I wanted to. But nope, nobody stopped me. And that's how policing doesn't work evenly. Everyone should just be able to walk past that because none of us are criminals. You're not a criminal until you've been proven so in court of law. You are not a criminal. Cops do not arrest criminals. They arrest suspects. People who are suspected of crimes, not criminals. It's important to remember that. That's what their job is, to arrest people. So, of course, that's how they look at everybody. They see everybody as somebody that needs to be arrested. But in particular, they see people who don't look like this that need to be arrested. So, yeah, lots of those people that were in prison didn't need to be there. And we shouldn't send them back because it's not going to help us. It's just going to cost the taxpayers a hell of a lot of money. It's going to ruin their lives. It's going to make them miserable, put them at risk from violence and disease because the pandemic isn't over. Monkeypox is here. We sure as shit don't need crowded prisons full of people who are just going to become disease vectors. Don't send those people back to potentially die because America is in love with incarcerating people, in particular minority people. So yeah, don't send those people back. They're not dangerous. They were never dangerous. They were never a threat to anybody. Let them pay back society through money and public service and call it good.